dissipate, will lead to a diminishing of that thought that has arisen in an instant. In an instant, you will be free from bondage. In an instant, you will be liberated. And so when we think about the previous examples, it may be difficult to understand, but simply to gain an experience in what it means to be in bondage and what it means to be liberated makes it easier to understand, even if the other examples are difficult to understand. But simply if your mind is not in bondage, if you do not cling, your mind will be at ease. Many times there is all sorts of external conditions, situations, objects that arise, but if the mind simply does not cling to them, and if you let your awareness rest in its own natural state, you meditate within mindfulness, then the clinging thoughts will be liberated. There will be no bondage. The mind will gain independence and will be at ease. So when you think about it in that way, then it is more easy to understand. So that is what is here referring to, the uncontrived innate continuity, the unfabricated state. The present unfabricated state is mind's nature. And it means that whatever thoughts arise, one doesn't grasp at those thoughts. If one grasps at the thoughts, it is just like you're pouring something filthy in a clean water. Then it will be kind of murky and not the way it was before. But if the mind remains to be utterly clean, like clean water, then you will see the actual Buddha within the mind. Then even if temporary conditions or thoughts arise, if you do not fixate to those feelings of happiness or suffering, they cannot pollute the water. So if you meditate and do not grasp at whatever arises, you meditate in the natural state, then you will not be in bondage. So when you think about it in terms of that experience, it is more easy to understand.
下面看一下这个宽松治愈无真本然状，舒服如松解脱毫无意义，如此心之自现如虚空。这个呢说明什么呢？就是说明这个心的本性是不能造作，我们也不能去追求心的这种本性。任何一个造作呢，都是实际上是对心是一种束缚，就这样束缚起来的。就是像这个。任何一个造作，任何一种念头，任何一种造作和追求在那儿的话，这个都是对心是一种束缚，这个绑起来了一样。所以这个时候呢，就是我们应该不要对这个心呢有任何一个束缚。所以比如说我们现在做这个现在比如说要这个禅修，这个禅修本身是什么呢？就是想把自己的这个心就舒服的这样一个，所以这样以后它自然会造成了一些这种痛苦和那个，所以我们一般来说的话，那现在比如说一个人在那儿可能跟你说了一个坏话，完了以后你马上。就是生气，这个生气呢实际上是我们心的一种造作，心的一种束缚，所以应该把这个心呢，就是在这说是在这种它的自然状态之下，不要有任何一种造作。
这得到，你青蛙的说完你得干的给钱不了，对了，你来当不把它。 그래서 시합 지정돼서 제발 요래 그때 저 탑대 강라 사제 기다다 소장 나섬送요래 되게送요래 강리 때나 유모관 때나 해당도 차이잖아 지금 나는 내 봤다는 인증 문제 때문에 해당 안 그래 해당 나와대 야 사자집에 따와 떠오르는 저기 해당대 교육문제 가야마다 나 떠오르지 따오는 대전 해당대 라기 저런 좋아하는지 혈토크요래 오래 대 상하리 대달 사자집에 따와 마도도 간다 사족집을 넣는 경우 아까 대 해당은 야 해당나서 이걸 자지 가래 저 싸움을 땅다 딱게 땅다 해당시켜요 Deki ang hamara do pamala trini lo mata pa. Mara ki trini lo pari jawa tata tanga sorte bata piyore. Trinchi lo pamala pa trini ma lo no de bata na. Tati jewa cheta lo hoto lo njone tata tanga dachi ta dar hoto lo ngi yo mari nga limba che ta sari te chwa de ko ro ko ke sa chok tsama la ko ro. Te to pa de kada de ma. 다또 동네는 맞다는 게 뒤가도 몇이 요 말이야. 또 냐와를 동네에 로데 또 이게 뭐지 좀 쉐다도 좀 냐와 이게 좀 로면 뭐로 대사요 말이야. 대사 뭐 다가 냐와를 또 그리 다 쉐다 요도 방법이 어때? 좋다는 나서 나도 봤으면 되는 좋을 것 같아. 산지게 좋다 참. 야, 들이를 뱉대. 좋다 담고 좋다를 나한테 들이 데려라고 사족석을 나왔다고 데려더니 사족선집에 사자집에 따와도더니 세상도 쪽발이야 싸우고 말이야. 세상 또 강잖아. 나그 뒤시대도 막 저를 갖다 이제 밀으면서만 뒤시야 성들을 매행하기를 가리를 척하고 이랬지. 이제 남산지는 쉽도로 이제 소도를 돌로를 봤으면 집을 탐지가 다만이 주사자집을 따라오는 조돌이지나 카보로 이렇게 무서워 남는 방법이래. 주로 탐지들을 봐 이제 싸놓다는 너나 좋다고 그랬지. 다리 세부도 너무 맞지. 가래 탑 가래 때 매번 가고 세들 아완다고 도도 됐다고 해야지.
So it is very important to understand this point of bondage and liberation. And there are different levels of practitioners, beginning practitioners and many different other degrees of mental capacity or wisdom. And thus there are also different methods to liberate the negative thoughts. The Buddha generally has taught that in terms of 3 levels of liberation, either the path of the Pratimoksha, the Bodhisattva path, or the Vajrayana path. For example, if you think about the afflictive emotion of anger, if somebody is harming me, then normally I would think, oh, I must get angry at that person. Then if one liberates that thought from the perspective of the view of Mahamudra, if one has realized the view of Mahamudra, one doesn't even think about the fault of the anger. One simply understands that the anger is nothing but a concept and continues to let one's mind rest within the view. Then through abiding within the view, the ice block will naturally melt into water. So that is the path of the secret mantra. And for practitioners who have not realized the view of Mahamudra, they may take the path of the bodhisattvas. So for example, again, there is an enemy, someone who arouses anger in one. And then one can investigate, one thinks about that object of anger. And if one thinks about that, there is a way that the anger can be eliminated. From the bodhisattva's path perspective, one could think, this person has been my parent in previous lifetimes, and I have not repaid their kindness. I have actually harmed them in previous lifetimes, and as a result of that, now that person arises as an enemy who causes harm towards me. So then actually, if you think about it in that way, that person actually is not an object of anger, but actually an object of love, as that person has been extremely kind to us in previous lifetimes. So this is another method to liberate the bondage, the way of liberation of the bodhisattvas. Then there is some practitioners who also cannot do this, and then one thinks about the suffering of the lower realms. There is not a single person in this world who does not fear suffering. So if you give rise to anger, necessarily, certainly, you will experience the suffering of the hell realms. There is no other destination.